Hello, my friend. Stay a while and listen.
What's going on, guys? It's Filthy and I'm back with another video. Today we're looking at the current top Necro build for Season 20, which is the Legacy of Dreams Mages. Now I've just cleared 101 with this, with about 800 Paragon. I'm missing quite a few slots as Ancient. The gems are all under 100. Now this build hits like an absolute truck. We're going to squeeze every single multiplier pretty much that the Necro can possibly get its hands on. That said, this makes the build very strong, but it also makes it very lopsided because it is as thin as a sheet of paper. Now, I've ummed and ahed about whether to re-record this clear a few times, but I thought I'll just leave it in because you're going to see me die several times, you're going to see me hide on a floor like a wimp, and you're also going to see me looking at a death screen for a little bit, waiting for Land of the Dead to come back up. Now realistically, that's just how this build plays. If you get bad RNG with your map and you get anything with projectiles, it's going to be quite frustrating, but it still does hit pretty hard, and you'll see that we do clear the rift with some time to spare, so I can definitely go higher with this. I'm not sure I'd want to because it's not really my bag, kind of being killed all the time, but it is still the strongest build, so I thought we'll go through it. Before we do though, do subscribe if you haven't already, and as always guys, a thumbs up is greatly appreciated. So just in case anyone doesn't know how Mages works, this is going to be a Legacy of Dreams build. So when we get this gem fully ranked up and we get everything Ancient filled, so all slots Ancient, we get about 10,000% on the multiplier, something like that. Now the Mages is the damaging skill. What we do is we cast them with the Singularity rune, which is a physical rune, so we want physical damage on the sort of gear, so bracer and amulet. This will empty all of our essence, and the more essence that gets emptied, the harder these mages hit. So you need to be emptying your essence when it's full, so you need to cast them with a nice full globe like this. Now normally you get one mage, but because we're going to take the circle ring, we're going to get two. So mages are already doubled, so we now need to start juicing them up. Now the Scythe of the Cycle will give us 400% in addition to the 10,000 from the Legacy of Dreams, so that's pretty good. Bone Armor has to be active. Now you will occasionally overspam the mages and the Bone Armor will go. If it does, they'll just not hit as hard, so you just need to reactivate it. It's on a pretty short cooldown, so it's not the end of the world. So yeah, Bone Armor needs to be up for that to work. We're also going to have Tragul's Corroded Fang. When we get a curse off, we get 200% extra damage. The curse we're going to be using is going to be Scent of Blood. This is going to give our pets, so the mages, another 15% damage boost, so again, yet even more damage. Now we've also got the Riley Shadow Hook. This gives us damage based on our max essence, so we want to get max essence on our weapon as a secondary roll. We also want to get it on our offhand again as a secondary roll. You want to put it into Paragon points, and you want to take the passive that gives you extra essence as well. So the more essence you have, the more powerful the mage is. Now this ties in quite well with Simulacrum Reservoir, because this will give us a doubling of essence. So when we use this, our essence pool is doubled, so the mages hit twice as hard. And as a lovely little Brucey bonus, we actually get 4 mages, because Simulacrum will double our secondary skills. So when this is up, we've got 4 mages, and they do double damage. The trick to Simulacrum is really to only activate it when you're at full essence already. If you activate it at really low essence, it's going to take twice as long for the orb to fill up, because instead of getting to say 330, it's going to get up to 660. So you want to try and do that when it's full. Obviously, easier said than done. Stressful situation playing this build sometimes, but that's kind of the idea. Now, we're also going to be taking Crispin Sentence, so we get double damage against slowed enemies. You're not going to get that off much with the Bane of the Trapped, because you have to be within 15 yards, and if you're within 15 yards of stuff, that's not a great situation for this build. You want to be a little bit further back than that. You want to be using your skeletons as a meat shield basically. So generally it's only going to be the triple Crispins that you're going to get off. Now that will go with Bone Armor Dislocation. That's a stun, so if you stun anything it gets triple damage, which is great. But mainly Land of the Dead Frozen Lands freezes the whole screen, lets us use corpse skills at will, and this will give us that triple Crispin effect. So really, Land of the Dead, when this is up, mega damage. Now we're also going to take Convention of Elements. When this rolls around onto physical, the mages just hit for another 200% multiplier. Obviously pretty good. Necro's only got 3 elements, so it's up a fair amount of the time. It does make the mages hit even harder. And then we're not finished just yet, we're going to squeeze out a couple more. So we've got Squirt's Necklace, so when we don't take damage we deal up to double damage, but when we do get hit we take an extra 50%. Now Necro is already pretty bloody squishy, When you add this item, it really means that you can't be touched. I think somebody commented in one of my videos that Necro, you fart near it and it dies. That is definitely the case for this build. You literally can only be touched once or twice if you're lucky. Now the last multiplier is going to be the hexing pants of Mr. Yan. These give us 25%, but we have to be moving, so you can't really stand still. You need to just be running around in a little circle. You don't have to be running forwards. Even if you just move back and forwards, side to side, just get this activated. And it also gives us extra essence as well, which is quite handy because more essence is more mages and more damage. I suppose not a multiplier per se, but the attack speed does benefit the pets on Tasker and Theo, so mages hit harder with this. So pretty much anywhere we can get damage item, we have squeezed it into the build. Now, I've actually cleared it with a Dainty's Binding. This isn't probably best in slot because we are just going totally lopsided with damage on this one, so a Witching Hour would probably be better, maybe even a Vigilante belt to get some extra cooldown. This probably did stop me from getting one shot a couple of times. I'd have to watch the clear back to see whether I do actually get to survive a couple of hits, but generally speaking, you're probably just lumping everything in on toughness. Now, we've talked about spending the essence and that being the kind of the key to the build, so we need to generate it back because if you look at the bar, there is no generator here. So essence comes back with Devour. Now you have a choice of 2 runes here. You can put Cannibalize on. What this will do is it will heal you as well, so you can numlock the skill and it will give you extra life. Now again, I'd have to watch the clear back. What I'd say about this is if you are getting completely one shot all the time, I just put Devouring Aura on. So take it off numlock, just put it on Devouring Aura. It will auto consume the corpses for you. You don't have to worry about that. If you are somehow managing to survive without being completely one shot, then this is probably better because it will give you a top up and you do at least have a chance. Now the consuming of corpses is very important because Life from Death is the passive that makes all this work. When we consume corpses, there is a chance that a health globe will spawn. That synergizes really well with our braces, which are the Reaper's Wraps. And we gobble up a health globe, we can get up to 30%. Now I've been lazy, I haven't done many bounties, I really should do more and get an ancient pair because these are craftable. You get the plan from killing Malthiel at any difficulty. So in theory, you do one full set of T16 bounties, you can have 22 rolls at this. So again, I've just been lazy. Fairly decent pair, physical 20%, crit chance 6%, but yeah, I probably should go and craft another pair. Offhand can be anything, you just really want cooldown and mage damage. Now again, I've played quite a lot this season, I've had really terrible luck actually with offhands. This is the best one that I've found with cooldown on it. Obviously I use it for my Death Nova build, so you know, fine, I keep it, but really you want skeletal mage damage on there. You know, another roll of 15% can maybe get you up to another rift level. So talking about that, you can also get skeletal mage damage on boots and also your helm, so I would pick both those rolls up if you can. And the helm is going to be Loric's Crown. This will double the gem, so we're going to get a cooldown gem and get 25% CDR off that. And then best in slot for the boots is probably going to be the illusory ones. These will let you get out of Waller, let you walk through stuff unhindered. Not the greatest thing in the world because again, you're trying to stay away from stuff because this build is just so squishy. But what you can do is, as I say, maybe if you get shield pylon, you can try and move through the map a little better with this. So it is probably best in slot, but until then, any ancient boots will do. You find these from Act 2 bounties. They can also drop in Act 5, so if you just do some group bounties, you'll get an ancient pair pretty quickly. So rounding us out, we've got 2 essence items. So we're going to take Requiem Cereplate. This will double the essence from Devour, obviously incredibly handy for the build because again, more essence is more mages. And then we're also going to take Rosette's Volition. The Gift of Death rune on the Skeletal Mage basically means that they leave a corpse when they die. That will get consumed by Devour. Might leave us a health globe, and we can gobble it up with the Reaper's Wraps, get some more essence and get going. So the only other legendary gem we haven't talked about is Enforcer. Pretty much a no-brainer. This gives our pets extra damage and means they take 90% less damage, so they rarely die. So pretty handy. So Enforcer, Legacy of Dreams and Trapped are going to be the gems. I can't really think of too many swaps of the gems, but there are a couple of swaps you can maybe do with the gear. Now, one thing you can do is you can put the Crispins on the character, take off the Convention, because obviously you're going to need the Circle Ring, you definitely don't want to take that off. And what you could do is you could put the Reaver in the cube. So this does make the build a lot easier to play, because when you make a kill, what it'll do is it'll take 1 second off your skills at random, so it'll just pick one skill, reduce it by a second. So obviously the mages hitting so hard does mean that you can get quite a lot of cooldown out of this. but obviously you're going to be dropping a multiplier, and the COE, I think on my calculations, probably gets you about 5 rift levels. So as I say, I can kind of understand why the top people have kind of transitioned over to this, but that certainly is a swap. As I said, the belt, you could take a different one, Vigilante, maybe even a Witching Hour, something like that. And then finally, a swap on pants possibly is to take Witch Doctor ones, so that'll give you an extra 20% on physical, so Swampland Waders. I personally think this is a higher multiplier. The physical damage is going to get added to your bracer and amulet roll, so it's not going to be quite as high. Plus, it's a bit of a pain to get maybe as a Necro. Fine if you're rolling multiple classes, it's easy, or if you're grouping, maybe you can get a pair. But other than that, I probably would just stick with the hexing pants, because you will find some eventually. So we've talked about all the skills. The only things I would potentially swap, as we say, was the rune on Devour to the aura one. The other thing maybe is the curse. You could swap frailty to decrepify and go for borrowed time just to get more cooldown out. That's an option. But as I say, top player, top clear is using Scent of Blood just for the extra 15% pet damage. Rest of the passives, Final Service, you're going to need this. You're going to activate this many times during the Rift unless you get absolutely godly RNG and get like a massive map full of zombies and skeletons that just move around really slowly. Life from Death, essentially, you can't take that off. Overwhelming Essence is giving us more damage, it's giving us more juice for mages, so I wouldn't take that off. And Blood is Power, quite handy really, because Final Service will generally go off every Land of the Dead and Simulacrum cycle. Maybe if you get lucky it won't. You do proc this quite a lot. It's worth taking an extra 20% CDR, and it does help you out when you need it. So if you do proc Final Service, Land of the Dead and Simulacrum are just that little bit nearer. Now in terms of playstyles, you've probably had a good giggle laughing at my Rift, because it is a very hard build to play and I don't make a particularly good job of it. But the idea is that you need to get your bone armor stacks up to 10. That does give you 30% damage reduction, which I probably should have mentioned earlier, but that will help try and stop you from being one shot. But importantly, it's a defensive stun, so you can use it if something's getting near, and also the stun procs the Crispins, so that's pretty nice. You need to make sure you're getting your curse on stuff. If you don't get your curse, you're not getting your Trag's Fang bonus, so 200%, so pretty important. One thing I would say, if you pop mages and then try and do a curse, you might not always get it, because you need 10 essence to cast this, and if you've just emptied it with the skeletal mages, then it is obviously not available. So you kind of need to make sure that you're going to have some access to some essence after casting mages, or you want to cast the curse first. Land of the Dead and Simulacrum, I try and piggyback them as much as I can. So what I mean by that is I'll go for Land of the Dead first. That'll give me 10 seconds of huge damage, unlimited corpses, the essence will just flow up, I'll get my 10 mages out pretty easily. Once that's off, I'll then try and wait a little bit, but then look to activate Simulacrum. Now once you've got Simulacrum up, once you've pressed it, as I say, you need to make sure you're at full essence before you do. Once you have, your goal then is to pump out 10 mages that are super juiced as quickly as possible. So you start with 4, because you press it once, that'll give you 4 double damage mages. You then need to, as soon as your essence goes up again, hit it again, move up to 8 double damage mages, and then finally again for one last time, press it again and basically override the mages so that you've got 10 out that have got double damage. And then after that, you just need to watch your mage counter and basically try and keep them at 10 as long as you can. Pray to God you don't die, and then activate Land of the Dead again. Now obviously if you get good enemies, if you get a good map, then the kills that you make will drop corpses, so you'll be able to get health globes, you gobble them up, and you're not quite as reliant on Land of the Dead and Simulacrum if you get decent mobs, decent density, easy to kill stuff. As you've seen from my clear, you can struggle with it, in which case you may as well just wait round. There's no point respawning if you don't have Land of the Dead available, because you're just not going to be able to put out enough mages to kill stuff. So it's a bit of a momentum killer. That's definitely a downside for the build, but if you're willing to fish the keys and get that perfect map, you can clear extremely high with this. And over 100 with 800 Paragon, and looking at the gear, what we're missing braces, amulet, what else? One of these rings, yeah, convention's not ancient. So we're missing, and the Seraplate's 4, so we're missing 4 slots as ancient. So it does kind of show that it is pretty powerful, because we've got 4 missing and we're still clearing over 100. Sheet damage is 600,000, pretty crackers when you think about it. In terms of stat priorities, cooldown absolutely everywhere. So weapon, offhand, preferably both the rings. Obviously, you know, ancient rings with cooldown are hard to get. I don't even have cooldown on either of my rings. Cooldown on your gloves definitely, cooldown on shoulders, physical on braces, physical on your amulet, and then skeletal mage on the helm, on the boots, and on the offhand. And then other than that, guys, double crit. You know, attack speed's not the worst thing because the mages do benefit from it, but I would much rather have, I think, crit hit chance rather than attack speed there. Obviously a higher intelligence roll. And as much main stat as you can get your hands on, and just beef up your damage. Now, the squirts, you could make an argument for putting haunted visions in here. That would give you double simulacrum time. Again, it's just another multiplier you're dropping, so yeah, simulacrum twice as long is a bit more damage, but not from squirts. If you keep this up the whole way, this is definitely more damage. So as I say, this is how the top clear is, and I thought I'd give it a try for you. So that's the build, guys. It is incredibly squishy, but it is very powerful. Now, I have previously done a tanky version of mages, which obviously doesn't hit anywhere near as hard, but I will link that in the description, and you can change that for this season, again, just by adding the Rylena Shadow Hook in for another multiplier. And I will also link my Blood Nova push build, because that's very tanky as well. So Necro does have some options. You can go for the high damage, high squish, and you can go for a little bit less damage and really tanky builds, which is much how I prefer playing personally. But as I say, this is top, so I thought I'd make a guide on it. So I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. Thumbs up if you did, and I'll be back with some more Season 20 content just as soon as I can. Enjoy the rest of your day. Take it easy. Peace.